welcome to our Sunday night business conversation with Joe Carcerano, real estate agent, and John Conenna Venus Travel travel agent. Joseph, the title of your company again, my apologies.
I work with App Properties.
App Properties, excuse me for not saying it. Joe Carcerano from App Properties. And we'd like to begin this evening talking about real estate, travel, and the pointers of both business and what to expect, and the experiences that we're going to throw at you.
Sure.
And of course, all the new situations, of course, Joe, that we've had with COVID and everything else over the last, let's say, 2.5 years now as this keeps moving forward. I'd like to start with you, Joe, tonight to ask you some questions. You've been doing this now for how long, and what makes Joe Carcerano get into real estate?
It's interesting, but this is going to be my 6th year in real estate. The first year, I will fully admit, was not full time. I was still working for Anheuser-Busch, and I was just intrigued with it. So I started there. And to be honest with you, it all started with, I wanted to go back and get my MBA. And I was evaluating the price, the cost, everything of what's going to come back in return, right? So I was going to go back, get my MBA, further my corporate career, sink a lot of money into some student loans. Because I, as you may not know, I enjoy reading. I'm a huge book nerd and like to educate myself. So from that point, I had a good friend, Anthony Natali, who was in real estate. He's like, why don't you just study this? It's something that happens all day long, every day, changes daily, changes weekly. And, you can make some better returns, quicker than an MBA without having to pay the government, $100,000 in loans. And from there, it started. I started getting intrigued. There's a ton of things, not just in real estate. You think of just a home, right? But in that case, there's attorneys, there's contracts, there's law, there's a lot of things to kind of juggle. And it's more than just saying, hey, John, this house is worth, $500,000.
Exactly.
There's a lot of things to learn. So for me, it's always this revolving door of learning. That's where I love it.
Joe, what I love about what you're doing and what I've been seeing now following you in this business that you're in, the 2 years that I've been following with the real estate, is, yes, I'm glad you brought this up. The behind the scenes is what people don't know. Somebody might say, oh my God, years ago, I remember, let's go years ago, 25 years ago, somebody would open up what was called a Northwest Multiple Listing book. That house was for sale. You really now have to become, and we'll get to my thing, what I do, 24/7. Joe Carcerano becomes a 24/7 because you're not only battling other realtors, you're battling the internet and everything else. So what I've been seeing you do is incredible. And like you says, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. I call it integral parts to what you're doing, and you got to be spot on. And of course, in your business and in my business, Joe, people want answers now. If somebody's calling me tonight on Sunday, I can't let it go to voicemail anymore.
No.
So take us through that, because you've been really spot on with your advertising, selling, the beware of situations like overpriced homes and everything else. Take us through that, and because you're taking some really good steps and you've done a phenomenal job. But take us through what some of the things that you do behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, so in every transaction, right, there's essentially two sides. There's a buy side and a sell side, correct? So when you're working with buyers or sellers or buyers and sellers, there's steps that really need to happen, right? And I take this from my self-proclaimed OCD of being ready and prepared, but in all honesty, the way this market moves is so quickly that if you're not prepared, you're going to lose out, right? So let's just take a sell side. I'll go on both sides. So from a sell side, if I wanted to list your home, right, we can't do that overnight. We need to run competitive market analysis. Where do we fall in pricing? Secondly, is your home ready for staging, right? Do we want all of that clutter? Are you ready to take interior photos? Where are you going, right? Do you know where you're going after the sale of your home? And if you aren't, are we ready to even list at that point? And then we talk finances. It really comes down to intricacies in financing. So if you want to take away $400,000 from the sale of your home, you can't sell your home for $400,000. You have to increase it by 7 to 8 to 9% higher than the purchase price, because you have closing costs, you have commissions, you have capital gain tax, you have multiple other things. And if you and your spouse, or you yourself, or whoever it is, wants to clear a certain number, right? They want to make X amount of dollars. What is the highest that we can get for you? Or I can say to you transparently, this is a double-edged sword that I've encountered, but I do business on full transparency. If you ask me to do something and I can't do it, I'm going to tell you, hey, REOs, or, short sales, I have very little experience in it. So I'm going to tell you, if you're looking for an expert, I'm not your expert, but I'm going to tell you, from sun up to sundown, we're going to get that answer for you. Right. So it's being transparent. So if you said, hey, Joe, I want to sell my home for $650,000, I'd say, okay, well, yeah, I would love to, but the market is dictating you're going to get between X and Y, right? I can't guarantee it. Yeah. So go ahead.
I have to tell you, Joe. So basically, okay, I know you're selling and buying real estate, whatever, you're doing it. But just listening to you now, you really become a specialist. Somebody told me, oh, do I have to go to school? Why do I need a college degree? Why do I need a high school degree? You just summed that up, because now, like you said, you're dealing with all this. I mean, there's math involved. There's, documents involved. Like you said, you're dealing with a lawyer. You're dealing with a mortgage lender. So you've become this specialist. And of course, now people are looking at you and saying, well, why are we going to use Joe Carcerano? I mean, I'm sure when that couple leaves and you have that first meeting, the first thing, tell me if I'm wrong, because this is the answer I would like to hear from you. Joe Carcerano has to sell himself, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the new age of it is, we don't market our business, you market yourself, right? So if I am putting out, I mean, recently I've done a ton of social media, so I'll just kind of touch on that. And, if I'm marketing myself as a boring, mundane person who only brags or only brings up, hey, I'm working with this client and we went under contract, soon enough, you're just going to go, okay, great. But I take the approach of kind of showing what you've said, is showing everything in the background, right? Everyone only sees these shows on Netflix, the HGTVs, like, hey, John, here's my contract, and then all of a sudden, they skip 35 to 45 days later, and they're like, here are the keys. It's not that way at all.
It's the fairy tale we're looking at. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's not like everyone has $500,000 in the bank and just can walk into a house and say, here you go. I mean, even a cash deal takes 10 to 14 days, because we have to pull title. We have to see, are there liens on the property? Has there been any insurance claims on the impound? Like, it's not like purchasing anything else. And that's why I love it too.
Joe, do you feel that real estate, because like this is my father who just dabbled with it, but real estate itself, is it an ever-changing business every day, just due to how we look at technology and how you have to sell yourself, sell the home, deal with all the things that go involved, like house inspections, everything? Is this a constant change?
The process itself does not change. I will say that, right? So in order to purchase a home, you have to be pre-approved. You have to have certain steps in line. That won't change. What does change, so there's 13 pages in a contract, okay, to purchase a home in Illinois. The details in the contract will always change. Like nowadays, People are waiving home inspections. People are waiving appraisal, or I'm sorry, not waiving appraisals. Appraisal gaps, right? So if the home is only worth $450,000, right now there is no inventory. People are buying it for $500,000. So now a detail in the contract is we're saying, hey, John, the loan is only going to give you 450. You're purchasing it for 500. Do you have the $50,000 cash to make up the gap in the purchase price? So 4 years ago, irrelevant. I mean, even 2 years ago, appraisal gaps, irrelevant, because the inventory was there. The rates were still a little higher. Now there's no inventory. Rates are at literally an all-time low. And now we're changing the process inside the contract. But the steps to the whole industry, I would say, are fairly concrete though. But the details is really what gets the difference.
Joe, I got to ask you, because just in this neighborhood, and you're from this original neighborhood where I'm from, we had some homes go up here, and some of the people we knew that left and bought and sold. And I think even when your parents bought and sold, is it true? And to confirm this rumor, that have you gotten homes where they're a hot seller, let's say, that you've gotten 20 offers on the home in one day?
Yeah. I mean, the best example is, I had a property in Round Lake, okay? Not Round Lake Beach, Round Lake, nice schools, everything. We listed the home appropriately. We had 48 showings, 17 offers, and we had 35 families come through in 3 days.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, as a listing agent, I'm listing the home. It's great because we know the home's going to sell. There's not a lot of roadblocks, right? We have options. We can go, we can pick and choose. The hard part is, and this is industry wide, is, there's 13 other agents that have put an offer in. They've probably shown their clients multiple homes, probably put in multiple offers on different homes. I have to go back to them and say, hey, I'm sorry, but your client is not going to get this home. So it's great in the sense of a listing agent, but you also have like that heartfelt feeling of, some of these agents are out here grinding all day long, Saturdays, Sundays, nights, and they can't find their clients a home because the market is just so haywire at the moment, in a good way for listers.
Absolutely. Yeah, in a good way. Here's a question I have for you, because over the years, you have that young couple. When I say the young couple, that's between 25 and 30 that wants to make that first time purchase. And then you have that 61, 62-year-old John Conenna and Connie Conenna that want to sell their home. Do you see the differences in that buyer and seller in what the seller, John Conenna, the 60-year-old, is looking for, and what the new young buyer who wants to make the new home in my home in Elk Grove? What is there? Of course, now it looks like with these offers on these homes, are they looking at the home and the structure of the home and everything else? Are they looking for the bottom line? What do you see as the client of the day, the client of the 2022?
So right now, the new thing is everyone wants turnkey, meaning they want to walk in and they don't want to do anything outside of, maybe some paint, maybe some flooring, anything that just kind of make it feel fresh. Even being in your home, immaculate from roof to basement, right? But someone might come in and just say, you know what? I just don't want the carpet in the basement. They'll pull it up and they put a little bit of flooring, but they don't have to do anything else, right? Your home is turnkey. What I will say is being a seller's market, what a buyer wants isn't necessarily what they have to offer to get the home, right? So let's say you 60, 61, 62, you're trying to sell your home, but you're in no rush. You want 60 days, right? You don't want this, get it done in 25, 30 days. So what you do, a little tip is, if I'm a buyer's agent, I'm going to call your agent. I'm going to say, hey, we love the home. I'm going to put an offer in on the property. What does the seller want? Does the seller want to close in 30 days? Does the seller want 60 days? Is the seller really money driven, right? Is it really going to be purchase price, or is it going to be ease of transaction? less things that can go wrong to get to the finish line. So buyers want turnkey, sellers want their timelines. So I would say those are the two biggest things right now. Yeah.
As a realtor, and
Yes.
basically I'm going to call you realtor specialist, because the way you've broken down things here tonight, these are things really that I didn't know that was going on in your world.
Mm-hmm.
But can you tell, because in my business, I can basically tell after so many years of doing it, but I have a feeling, can you tell in your business if someone's serious or wasting your time? You have given me that impression that you can zoom in on it or key in on that client. Do you see that we're, why am I doing this? Of course, you're not going to tell that client that because, sure. But do you see this client being serious, or even the seller that's hemming and hawing and pulling at the price?
Yeah. So like from a sell side, it's easier because, hey, John, you've reached out to me. I want to sell my home. Okay. We've dragged on. Once we sign listing papers and we have our listing appointment, we go through what we would list your house for, go through, the commission breakdown, go through the pictures, go through all that. I kind of know that you're locked in, right? You're serious. You've made that time and effort. A buyer goes off of one thing for me. If you don't have a pre-approval letter from a lender, I've reached a point in time where I won't even show you a home, or I'll give you I'll give you like a grace, like a grace showing, like, hey, a good buddy will reach out, or, a referral and say, hey, I'm interested in this property. I'll give you a call, have the conversation. Hey, are you pre-approved? Are you working with a lender? Oh, no, I'm going to get it taken care of. And you take note of it, right? Because
Right.
These are the individuals that might not show up for that showing, right? And at the end of the day, if my client doesn't show up for a showing, right? You as the seller have wasted time leaving. I have wasted the other realtor's time setting up the time. And you have also wasted my time that I could be helping other individuals that are more serious. But yes, it is easier to vet who is serious and who is not. It's simple. I mean, is it for you? I mean, yours is, more of a destination, more travel, more less funding, obviously, right? The home is the biggest purchase of your entire life. But at the same point, right? A trip to Italy is not the same as jumping on a bus and going somewhere either. So, I mean, do you know the seriousness? Like, how do you vet people out?
Again, I don't know if maybe you use this same style. If you use it, let's say we're taking that young couple that's going to buy the first time home, and let's take the young couple that's going to go to Europe on their honeymoon.
Sure.
I kind of go with this system, Joe, and I'm hoping your answer is the same as mine. I usually start a conversation now with the client. What is your budget? I've had people tell me, well, my budget to go to Europe is $5,000. Well, you're not going to Europe because the airfare is already $2,000. If we're playing simple math, $1,000 for your wife to be and $1,000 for you. Now you're going to go to Europe for 20 days on $3,000. I don't think so. So my thing is always, what is your budget? Okay, so you're going to sell a home. Can you afford the home in Elk Grove at $350,000? Or are you good at the $500,000? I mean, that's my first question. Do you feel that's one of your first things when feeling people out?
That's exactly what a pre-approval letter is. They can say, hey, John, me and my wife make, $70,000 a year. We have good credit. We can afford this $450,000 home. How do you know? So that's why talking to a lender who is a specialist in finances and in your numbers is going to tell you, hey, John, you're only approved to buy a home for $350,000. And then the client's going to go, well, can we look at the other one? And I'm going to say transparently, that home is listed for $400,000. I give the analogy all the time. If you held your hand out to me and I put 3 Skittles, the candy Skittles, put it in your hand. I'd say, okay, hold those for a second. Now eat 4 of those Skittles. They look at me and they kind of like, well, you only gave me 3. I said, exactly. You can only afford what you have in your hand, right?
Good
So
point.
we're not going to show you homes $50,000 over. You're wasting everybody's time. You're getting excited. There's too many emotions, and it's not the right thing to do. So no, it's the
Joe,
same process.
no, and that is a great analogy toward that process. I got to ask you a question, and we'll base it on where I live, because you remember the area, and of course you've known now so many areas. Here you've seen my house from top to bottom, finished basement, 3-bedroom home, has a lot of things, perks to the house. Like when I say perks, a generator, if we should lose power. I have made so many updates to the house, and of course remodeled it, put additions on this home, as you know. Now, my home is called the Huntington, a model that was built in 1983. Now there's a Huntington next door to me. Maybe it has one less thing in an unfinished basement. Is really my house going to get more of the top dollar than that Huntington that's right next door to me, my neighbor, who hasn't done a single thing to the home since 1983? Is there that big? Do you agree that someone should keep up his home and do the necessary changes?
Yeah, I mean, the days of most people stay in their homes anywhere between 7 and 9 years now. Okay, not much more. Okay, so back in the day, in the 60s and 70s and 80s, people were purchasing homes and they wanted to stay in them for 30 years or more. Okay, so in this day and age, you can't afford to not stay updated on your home, right? Because if people are only staying 7 to 9 years, you move in, and after 10 years, all you've done is, put a new lamp in. You're not upgrading your home, right? And at the end of the day, your home may be appreciating in value due to location or what have you, but you're not going to get top dollar. I mean, there are discrepancies. I'm actually talking with someone in the neighborhood of where we're talking in Elk Grove, right? When I'm running comps, the comparables, the price points, we are seeing prices from the low 300s to the high 500s, all within a half-mile radius, a lot of the same models. And why? What is it coming down to? It's coming to upgrades. It's coming to maintenance. It's coming to, what have you done on the exterior? Have you put in brick pavers? Do you still just have grass everywhere? So yeah, I mean, for me to put money into your home in the right places, I'm not saying put in marble floors and put in, crazy things like that, but putting money into your home usually, I'm not going to say with certainty, usually brings you a higher return at the end of the day.
And you've seen this already in the homes that you've sold and everything.
100%.
You've seen it where the guy next door's house, even when you maybe haven't been in it visually, but from the outside, you could probably say, wow, this guy hasn't done anything to his home. And the seller that you're selling the home, wow, they've really kept up on it. You know that he's made a little bit more margin than what that person next door made. I have to ask you a question because, like I said, my dad dabbled with it. We were he just dabbled with it. When you're hired by the couple to buy them a home or sell their home, whatever the vice versa is, are you battled on how much you make? Do they want to know how much you're making? Or do they tell you, Joe, do you think you could cut your commission? Is that a safe question to ask you this tonight?
Yeah. And truthfully, half of those people, it doesn't matter. And they think a buyer's agent, if you're a buyer, you're not a seller of your home, I'm helping you purchase a home. You pay me, honestly, you pay me, the client, zero. The only people that pay are the listing agent, right? And the sellers of the home. Now, rule of thumb, general commission in the state of Illinois is 5%. Normally 2.5 goes to the buy side, 2.5 goes to the sell side. Are there times to reduce a commission? Yeah, there are times, truthfully. If let's say hypothetically, I list a home of yours, you have a son, you have a daughter, you're going to be purchasing another home. Yeah, if there's going to be 4, 5, 6 transactions coming out of it, and one of them is a listing, yeah, there's time to reduce your commission. But for me to reduce my commission just to get one listing is something I'm not going to do, because I know what I'm bringing to the table. I know that I'm bringing a professionalism. I'm handling things that we've talked about earlier that go under the wayside, right? I am running tax reports. I'm running financial reports. I'm negotiating. I'm marketing your property. I am taking professional photos. I'm handling all of the stress for you. So for me, it just becomes a discussion. But right now, in a seller's market, there are a lot of people that say, what can you do for me?
Right.
And I bring to the table the value, and I don't speak on the numbers. Do you want someone that's going to be doing all of these things? Right. And I think it goes the same to you, right? Can anyone go to Travelocity and book a ticket to Arizona? Sure. But
Sure.
are they getting the protection? Are they getting the insight? Are they, so it goes the same to you, right? I mean, do people come to you and say, well, hey, John, I got it for 250. Can you make it 225? Well, yeah, I mean, expand on that. I mean, I'm sure it happens more often than not.
It does. And to end your thing, and I want to go into the travel thing now. Maybe we could just take a little bit of this turn. I got to tell you, my dad, and of course your grandpa, my dad and your grandpa, they were all about, believe it or not, these two men, cost accounting. My dad used to say to me, you know how much time you spent with that client, and now they want so much of our commission. By the end of the day, you're making pennies with all the phone calls you made, with all the reports you ran, what every time you got in your car and everything else. So beautiful point by you, Joe, of how you broke that down and all the things that you just mentioned. But now to go to my thing a little bit, you're right. I had an incident this past week, and I publicly came out and put it on a Facebook page for Venus Travel. We had clients that did go to an Expedia, and in the case of them, they went on to a couple of airlines that canceled their flights. They're low-cost airlines like Frontier and Spirit. They ran into a problem. Now, of course, there was no recourse going on this internet, and basically the airline now is going to give them a future credit. But again, there was no one to talk to. Of course, they saw this $89 fare, which United or Americans maybe about 148, 158. But again, the damage was done. Now they're paying more, waiting for a credit. There was no recourse. So again, yet what you brought up is huge, dealing with Joe Carcerano, John Conenna, the professional that is going to be with you, 24/7. Questions are going to be answered. You could be watching a Blackhawk game. Oh God, you know what? I'm going to ask Joe about the inspection. At the end of the second period, they're calling you. Joe, what about that inspection for the house? When is that going to take place?
And here I am. And here I am, right? Here I am in between periods. Right. You couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah, service. And I see you doing that. And I know you see me doing that, constantly keeping yourself out there in the eye of the community. And of course, I really do believe that clients, that faithful client, sees this about you. And of course, when you make that sale or however you're doing the sale or the buy, that referral, again, for me in my business, is the biggest advertisement besides what both of us are trying to do on social media.
Now, before we kind of get into something else, do you set boundaries though? Like internal boundaries, or do you tell a client, hey, how do you, if someone calls you, I don't know, Sunday afternoon, 7:30 p.m. or whatever it is, you're having dinner. I know you hate Sunday nights, so it might not be in the greatest mindset on Sunday night, and that they're just kind of looking to fish around, right? It's not someone that is on a plane or whatever. Do you answer and say, hey, I'm sorry, I'll get to you tomorrow morning? Or is it always, I'm down to do the work? Like, do you set boundaries?
Well, I got to tell you, Joe, and maybe we can expand it. This is a good topic you brought up. It was about a month or two ago. And of course, during COVID, my business really got slow, where like say your business basically took off. Mine was, I feel like I've been on vacation for 14 months. And now just recently it started to get back to the numbers. But there was an incident that happened where I had a client that had to go to Europe, and it was 7 o'clock on a Sunday, and my cell phone rang. I answered it. Okay. And basically my brother-in-law, who you know, Peter Ferracci, he told me, I wouldn't answer the phone on a Sunday night. Let it go to voicemail. You're looking desperate. Well, I mean, I had to tell Pete, I go, Pete, because of the situation that we're going through, I have to try to get whatever I can to keep this thing afloat. But yes, that's something you brought up, that I just had a gentleman tonight say, hey, John, what's a fare to Detroit? And I did say, you know what, I'll call you tomorrow. I'm out with my family right at this time. That point. But sometimes if it's a package to Italy and they want information and they're saying, we are going to use you, I sometimes find myself doing more work now, Joe, than I did when working for my father when I was in my 20s and 30s, just because how this started tonight with me and you, that now everybody wants an answer now. Yeah. It's just like the guy that gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning and he goes to the bathroom, let's say, and he says, yeah, I think I'm going to go on Expedia and check out the prices to Europe. He might book that ticket.
Because he
can't call me at 3 in the morning. Yeah. Wow. So that is a great point by you.
Now, you kind of brought this up, and we talked about how real estate, has just gone up, right? It's just, since COVID. Now you're dealing with something different, right? Restrictions and all of those things. It was open for a while, then it was closed. What's the current state? Like, can you book with confidence now to most places?
I'll be honest, Joe, 3 weeks ago, again, it looked like doom and gloom. And I was like, okay, this is going to be another problem, where they were almost coming close to putting mandates for travel in the United States. I thought, you have to be vaccinated. I thought they were going to say that you had to be vaccinated to go in the United States. But in a matter of 2 weeks, countries now are opening up, like England opened up last week. Yeah. Spain is on the verge. I'm hoping my God country, Italy, opens up, because that'll make my life a lot easier, because that being one of my main cogs. Yes, it is opening up. Things are starting to get a lot easier. You needed forms before, COVID tests, vaccinations. If you were non-vaccinated, you had to quarantine and everything else. So yes, I mean, I start to see, and of course, the biggest thing with us is people have had this pent up demand, whether it's going on a trip or going to a restaurant. Yeah, they don't want to have another night in the house of carry out and watching Netflix.
You literally took the question out of my hand. We've reached a boom in real estate. Do I think it's going to slow down? Not for the foreseeable future, but has the boom happened for travel yet? Or do you think there's going to be a point in time where it's going to be hard to even get on flights because so many people want to travel?
Joe, I do. I think the boom's going to happen this spring, but the scary part of the travel industry, and I think you're hearing it in a lot of other industries, is that there is not a lot of people, like I heard pilots are,
retiring at rates. They're retiring at rates, right?
And then the people that are still, I hate to use this word, and I hope it doesn't come back to bite me here, using the COVID card. Oh, I had COVID. I'm going to be out for 5 to 10 days. I hope they're legitimately had the COVID instead of, trying to make money from the government, by getting a grant or something. But it looks like a lot of the people are not working. And I think a lot of flights nowadays get canceled because the lack of the stewardess, the lack of the pilot, and everything else that's going on. So I'm hoping by spring, that's going to be a great word you used tonight, the turnkey, like, okay, this is it. There's no more grants. There's no more PPP loans. This is it. You either work or, you don't have anything. So, because I'm sure I know restaurants are suffering. your industry, I think, took off because basically, do you think, to go back to your industry, homes were at a price that were affordable?
Well, mortgage rates were at an all-time low. I mean, we were seeing high twos. I mean, 2.8s, 2.9s, which is just, again, mind-blowing to me. Homes were at a good price point. They have appreciated since. And there's no real data to prove this, but you put someone in their home for 3 months consistently who used to spend 40 to 60 to 70 hours a week outside their homes, they are looking at every nook, cranny, this, that, and they go, I don't like this anymore, right? I don't know if I'm going to go back to work in the office. And if I have to be here, right, they're looking around going,
right,
I hate my home. Even though they've loved it for 20 years, they hate it now. So now this stir craziness, right? So, oh, the real estate world's still open. There's still buyers. There's still a lot of sellers. So people are going, okay, I've been here 15, 18 years, or timelines have moved up. That's the other one. Yeah, we'll wait till our kids out of college. Like, well, everything will be set. Now people are waiting till the day of graduation and going, all right, good, we're gone. So it's a 4-year move up that never would have happened.
Never would have happened. Joe, yeah. I want to go back a little bit and back to you. How I use the word inspection in that. Are they very serious about inspections? Meaning, let's say you have the basement that has the foundation crack, and the head inspector comes in and he says, there's a crack in that foundation. Either they sell it as is, or that buyer better fix it. I've heard from a lot of realtors, and I think you'll be able to help me with this, where even a staircase that might be loose or not up to code has to be fixed before the sale. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can basically ask for anything after a home inspection. If there's a loose railing, if there's electrical that's wrong, the contract states that it's supposed to be only health and safety hazards, but no one follows it, right? They're going to ask for anything and everything. But what I'm going to say is buyers have less and less power at this moment because there are so many offers. People are now looking at to say, okay, I'm going to ask the seller for $5,000 in concessions. Concessions is money a seller gives to the buyer to make the property right or to their liking. So now, instead of asking the seller $5,000, because they know the seller is not going to agree to anything because they have 18 other offers behind you, they're going to say, okay, wife, spouse, husband, do we have $5,000 to fix this ourselves? That's what it's coming down to. So I would never advise you to not do a home inspection, but I will advise you that unless it is absolutely a safety hazard or a health hazard, or we can literally see water coming in during our home inspection, just find a budget and take care of it yourself.
Take care of it. Joe, I got to ask you, if you had to put a percentage on homes that you've sold, and of course, with this unbelievable market of this year and a half, this last year and a half, have people purchased homes for over the price that they were originally?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I couldn't tell you, trying to think here. I'd say of my last 10 transactions, 10 out of 10 are higher than purchase price. 100%. Not even close. Yeah, I mean, an example. I had a buyer that I was supposed to be showing a home tonight, truthfully, during this time. I got a call from the listing agent yesterday. Had a good rapport with her. I've worked with her before, and she said, hey, Joey, I know you have a showing tomorrow. We've received multiple offers. Can you show this property today? As of yesterday, right? And I'm like,
right.
Yeah, fine. I'll find a way. So we went in obviously. They enjoyed the property. We wrote a contract for way over asking price. I mean, because we already know that there's multiple offers. I mean, the days of finding a hidden gem are so far and few between that you need to know someone before they even reach out to a realtor to say, hey, let's negotiate a good deal here. And
Sure.
that's where relationships come in. I mean, there are multiple times, 2 or 3 of my previous clients over the last year, we got them homes before the home even hit any market. Hey,
Wow.
I have a seller, reach out to other agents. Hey, I'm looking for something off of Deborah and Cass, right where, Elk Grove areas, Diane Lane. They're looking for something there, right?
Right.
I'm now reaching out to agents that do business there. Say, hey, do you have anything coming on? And if they do, maybe we have that conversation. I mean, they're not even on the market. They might still not even be ready for photos. And we got agents going, well, can my clients go in and see it? I'm like, they're not even clean yet. We're not even ready, but they're
Wow.
just chomping at the bit for something.
I got to tell you, I know we decided we were going to do this tonight. I got so intrigued, just really, I mean, truthfully intrigued by this conversation, because these are things I did not know. And so when this airs to the public, this has been a really unbelievable thing that people don't, know about all the things that go into the real estate. So the biggest question I have for you, because I'll tell you, up until 2019, I could talk about my industry and I knew when it was hot and when it was on.
Yeah.
I was on a roll from about 2015 to 2019 selling Europe. And Joseph, I took every European trip I could get and any referral. Do you see this real estate market after this unbelievable run, year and a half? Do you see a point where it's going to dry up? Do you start to see it drying up, or do you see this thing still in rocket ship mode?
I could take it 2 ways. The first is, you didn't bring this up, but I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
There was a housing crash, right? We're talking 2008 era. The issue with that was lending. Okay. They were giving out loans that people couldn't afford. For whoever's watching and for whoever's been through it, the pre-approval process right now is not hard, but it's rigorous. You got to have your documents in order. You got to provide to the lender what you can afford. So from that standpoint, no, there's not going to be a crash. When the Fed starts, the rates start going up and we start seeing 4.75, or we might see 5, or even just over 5, you're going to see a pool of buyers that are going to be less, because as homes are appreciating, rates are increasing, they can't afford what they could have afforded 18 months ago.
Sure.
And another myth I kind of want to debunk is, I'm not going to throw numbers into it, but if you're able to purchase a home right now, even though it's higher than you would like to pay for it, and your interest rate is low, let's say 3.5%, okay? Okay, we'll just throw numbers. It's easier. Home worth $500,000, your interest rate is 3.5%. The buyer's going to say, well, I'm going to wait for it to slow down. I'm going to try and buy this home for $450 2 years from now. Well, 2 years from now, you buy the home for $450 and your interest rate is 5.5%, 6%. You're paying more monthly on your mortgage for the home you bought $50,000 less than you did if you bought the home for 500 with a 3.5. Everything really revolves around the interest rate. Yeah, you don't want to overpay for a home. Who does? But as soon as those rates start going up and up and up, it could be a difference of $250 a month for the same property. Wow. Even with a $50,000 higher purchase price. So you're
how those percentages come into play.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm going to transition right back. Are flights going to get more and more expensive with the ever-changing less employees, gas prices, the amount of people? Like, what are we going to start seeing $500 to go to a normal destination?
Joe, I started already to see it with Europe. A ticket in 2019, it was $900 to go to Europe, let's say to Italy.
Mhm.
Now, that same ticket 2 years later is about $1,500 because these airlines have not done the business that they had in 2 years. I mean, basically, Europe was shut down for 2 years. And I'm sure with all these restrictions of going to Florida or California, it's okay for now.
Yeah.
Now we can go in. I start to really see fares going up, up, and up. And it really now seems like you talk about you constantly have to check this market for that low airfare or that. I'm under the type of guy that I don't agree in these low cost airlines. I don't want to mention a lot of names. We all know what the names are because the low cost airlines find a way to have disruptions because of course, lack of employees and everything else. But in the long run, I think it's better to go with the Uniteds and the Americans,
Sure.
and let's say the Lufthansas if we're traveling internationally. But I do believe my industry, people that will be going places this summer, if this gets back on track by the spring months, you're going to see a big jump in the airfare, just like as we're seeing a big jump in groceries and everything else.
And we can round this whole conversation out to two professionals in their job, right? I go back to something my grandfather taught me at a young age. You really get what you pay for at the end of the day. If you want a Rolex and you're willing to pay X dollars, you're going to get Rolex type treatment. You want to go to Mercedes-Benz or you want to go to Ferrari, you're going to get that treatment. You want to fly United first class, you want to fly that, you're going to enjoy yourself. You want to work with a broker that can provide value, whether it be at Properties, Remax, Baird and Warner, and not working with some other brokerages that are discount brokerages. Hey, I'll do it, skeleton and bones. No matter what industry, I feel like you get what you pay for.
Joe, I got to tell you, you just gave me goosebumps because that same man, your grandfather, who I knew, and my father, I think they were born the same year, 1926, 1927. My dad would always say, the more you spend, which was a spinoff of your grandpa, the more you spend, the less you spend in the end. So I think on that note tonight, this was truly we got to do this again because there's so much more to talk about. We could spend 4 hours on here like I do when I do my normal podcast with athletes. You are, young man, a world wealth of information. I felt like I was talking to somebody that's been doing this for 40 years, let alone the last 6 or 8 years you've been doing this. You have brought up some points that people should really zero in on, as good as the market is, but understand what is really going on. And Joe, this was fantastic. Joe Carcerano from Map Properties. This is
well, thank you. Great conversation. We will be back for round 2, but thank you. I appreciate it.
You got it, Joe. And we'll get this out on YouTube and everything else so everyone can see. And please put your information on there so we can get people to call you and email you and text you, whatever the new wave of technology is.
Perfect. We'll talk to you soon, John.